The Glory Game, brought to you by Hull Spurs, an official Tottenham supporters group. Today we're joined with Andy,
Hi,
Simon, and
Right.
Ben joins us
Hi,
again.
fellas.
So we've just been discussing, lads. It was quite a while since we did the last one. This is the second episode we've done. Look at all the stuff that's happened in between that last episode. I think the last episode we just booked our place at Wembley to play in the League Cup final with Man City. But since then, what's happened, guys? Because it just seems like from one extreme to the other. We was top of the league for so long, and now we're looking at all the people saying Mourinho should be out. So I know it's a meaty one to start with, but Andy, I guess we'll go to you first. What do you think's going on?
well, I had a full load of hair before the last podcast, and now look at me. It's a tough one, isn't it? I think one of the issues as being a Spurs fan, I mean, I've been a Spurs fan over 40 years, it's the hope and expectation that kills you. You know, we weren't playing great, but we were getting some gritty results. And for some, I was reading an article yesterday about the West Ham game. You know, we're 3-0 up and they came back to draw 3-3. And that, to me, seems to be the turning point.
Yeah.
It's the case of get a goal and just don't lose, but we're just not very good at holding a lead. So, there's something not right. I mean, things that we're going to discuss later with some of the questions that me and Ben have been chatting about behind the scene regarding Mr. Mourinho. Is he the problem? No, I don't think he is. I think it's when he was first appointed, my first thought was it's leave his last chance. He's done everything. He's had the protege, he's had the fan favourite, he's got the serial winner, and every one of them has failed.
The old head in Redknapp.
Yeah. So where do we go?
It's a tough one, and I'm sure we're going to get onto it a bit further in the pod. Simon, in a nutshell, what do you think's going wrong?
Sinking ship. I think that's what we are at the moment. We started well, playing good football, and since Christmas, it's all going downhill. And I think Amazon program might have had something to do with it, with the Dele Alli being called lazy in training, and I think it's backfiring.
So you can clearly see that some of the players are happy, and obviously some of the players are happy with Mourinho. Isn't happy with some of the players. So do you think that's the catalyst to where it started to go wrong then? When that was aired?
Yeah, 100%. That's where it started.
We saw a different side of Danny Rose in that documentary, and I think Danny Rose has upset a lot of Spurs fans with his behaviour or how he was portrayed, let's say, because obviously we all know what editing can be like. Dele, you know, there's the infamous where he comes in as he kicks the bottle or throws the bottle and he says, hoof and defend, that's all we seem to be doing, or something along those lines. Amazon could be a good catalyst. Yeah.
So, Ben, again, in a nutshell, where do you think it's gone wrong?
Yeah, we're a funny old club, aren't we, really? I think you've got to look at every party going. Levy, players. I want to say managers, but I don't think you can. Because I think the two previous in Levy and the players both contribute to the downfall of every manager we've had for a long time. Mm-hmm. I don't think the turnaround of the players is good enough from the transfer side of it. We've got too many mediocre players that have been at the club for too many years. You know, look at I don't want to single them out because I'm going to single them out.
Single them out, mate.
But you want to players like Eric Lamela. Look how long he's been at the club. And what has he brought to the club in those years? And we've still got him. And who's going to come in and pay money for a player like Lamela? Seriously.
I read something this morning about Liverpool and Mo Salah in particular, and they look like they want to ship him out. They reckon that he's extended his life of the club. And again, turnaround, and that's what 3-4 years he's been there.
Yeah, exactly.
You can clearly see that it links back to what Pochettino was saying about this painful rebuild.
Yeah.
I think he was absolutely spot on. And for me, there's two ways of looking at that. One, he was absolutely right, and that half that squad needed to be shipped out, which we didn't do. We was haggling probably over a few million to get players out. That I think that is our biggest downfall, is we don't get players out the door quick enough.
No, that's when it should have happened. As soon as Poch went, we should have just done it.
The problem with that, though, Ben, is the fact that I don't think it was the right time for Poch to undertake that, because by the time the Champions League had finished, Poch had turned. We mentioned it in the last podcast. Pochettino looked as though he'd had enough at Spurs.
Yeah,
I would have loved to have undertook that painful rebuild and got exactly the players that he wanted. But I don't think his heart was in Spurs anymore. And I think that's one of the reasons why he was maybe sacked. And Mourinho was brought in. And Mourinho has had to pick up, like you say, Ben, he's had to pick up limited passages of football or whatever with a limited squad. That's
yeah. And at the end of the day, respect to Mourinho for winning everything he's done. But we know that he cannot win it on the basis of what he's got at Tottenham. Really, realistically, looking at the back end of his managerial career, he's always had that backing.
Yeah,
even at United.
One of the things that I really... Sorry, Andy.
I was just going to say, so he's always been renowned as a checkbook manager, hasn't he? Says he had it at Chelsea, obviously Real Madrid, Inter to a degree. He's always had somebody who was willing to splash the cash.
Yeah, one of the best things that I really wanted to know, and I don't think you can find it out, but I wanted to know what he thought of the Spurs squad compared to all the other squads he's had success with, and see how they compared. Now, if they compare that, some of them are, the squad's better than, say, the Inter Milan squad, or better than probably not the Real Madrid squad, but the Chelsea squad, then that gives you an indicator of, we can get success with them players. But I think, if we're being honest, the squad of players he's got is far worse than any of them squads he's had.
Yeah. I think for the last couple of years, we've wanted quality and depth. So it's like we had under the last couple of years of Poch, he had his starting 11 and 2 or 3 on the bench. We always looked at our bench and thought it was quite weak. And now we've got more or less 2 players for every position, but the quality is it's non-existent.
Yeah.
As I say, as you looked at that bench the other night against Chelsea, and you see Moura, Lamella, Bale, we'll come on to Bale, I'm sure, in a short while. And you just look and you think, a lot of people say we want Dele Alli in the middle, creating those chances. We need that creative midfielder. We're not playing the style of football suitable for a creative midfielder. Says we get the ball and it's hoofed long and it's get it away from the defence and the midfield. So, we put a player in the middle to dictate the play, and I don't think anybody knows what to do with it.
Yeah,
I completely agree with that.
I think that's why you're seeing. I mean, I know Harry Kane's had to change his game, but I think this is why we're seeing him drop ever so deep at times, because he's not one for holding up the play. He can do it, but some of the balls he's played over the last few seasons have been absolutely spot on. But he's now having to come back to pick the ball up to assist, because there's nothing in that attacking third. The quality's not there. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Simon, what are the sort of players that you think that they've had the days in the Spurs squad? A lot of these players have been around for a long time now. What's your thoughts on the squad?
So where do we start? Well, let's start with the goalkeeper, Lloris.
Get rid of him. He's at the age now where he needs to cash in.
I mean, you've got Lloris and Joe Hart as 1 and 2 there, both aged. On his day, Lloris is world class, but he does flap a lot. I think he's cost us a few goals over the past couple of seasons, put under pressure by the defence. But if we look at goalkeepers, Gazaniga's just gone out on loan. I think that's the end of him at Spurs. Personally, I think he'll go in the summer. And then what do we do from there? We've got the young lads coming through. Is it? I'm going back. I can't remember the kid's name. Is it Whiteman?
We've got Whiteman and Austin, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Austin as well, isn't it? Yeah. So but you're not going to trust a youngster in Premier League football. Or was it Sir Alan Hansen? You never win anything with kids.
So Lloris is in the black book. Then the problem I have with Lloris replacing Lloris, because I think he saves more goals than he contributes to letting in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I would. He's still favourable for me. But who do you replace him with? Because there's not many keepers out there. I mean, you look at Chelsea and the problems they had bringing their keeper in. There's not many keepers out there that you could feel confident dropping him straight into a Premier League team.
I don't think we'd get him, but I'd love Henderson from United.
Yeah,
He's
I was
been,
about to say that, Henderson.
he'd be my fair shout, but I don't think Man United will sell to us.
He's a young keeper, though, isn't he? I mean, I think a younger keeper like that, you're going to have equal amount of problems with as you are with Lloris now. I think it's either a really experienced keeper, or you pay a loads of money and get the best out there, like Oblak or someone like that from Atletico Madrid. So I think that is a difficult one. I think there's glaringly obvious ones though in the squad, and even in the first team at the moment. I think that's the problem. A lot of these players that have stunk the place out for years, they're in the first team.
Yeah,
Ben Davies, Eric Dyer, Serge Aurier. They're not good players.
You've just mentioned the defence. Then I love Toby, but I think he's past his sell-by date. Great as to come in from the bench. Personally, I'd love to see Rodon and Tanganga given a shot at central partnership. I see a lot of quality in them too. The young lads, they're going to make mistakes, but get them in, get them, bedded in the first team. You go on to left and right back, as you say, Aurier, Ben Davies. Doherty's not worked out as we'd have hoped. Is that a confidence thing with him? I don't know. Or is he just not good enough? Joey's out for me. And obviously, Serge Aurier, Reguilon on the other side, quality, absolute quality. But if you read the rumours in the papers, apparently he's saying yes to a Real Madrid return.
Well, you can't be surprised at that, really. I mean, it probably is his dream to play for Real Madrid. But I mean, you look at the back foot. I mean, this is the really thing that is glaringly obvious for me of why we're failing. You look at how good he was when we had the best defensive record. Look at that back four we had. Now, I don't want to keep going on about the past, but we had Vertonghen, Alderweireld, Rose, who was in his prime, and Walker, and we had the best. We had the best record for 2 seasons or something.
Yeah.
You look at the team now. Look at the team against Liverpool. Doherty, Dyer, Rodon played that game, didn't he? Davis, and we're talking about Mourinho having organised sides. Brighton was an organised side. That back four we've got, they haven't got a clue, and it only highlights when you see stuff like Eric Dyer against Chelsea giving that penalty away. He's just a clown.
Yeah,
he's an absolute clown to me. And
you love Dyer, don't you, Simon?
What do you think about Dyer,
he's
Simon?
not my best player.
I think everybody's on the same page now with Dyer.
It's got to a point where I've lost patience in them players. I've given them the benefit of the doubt, season upon season, saying, Dyer's had good games in the midfield when he was playing there, and he was all right, and he had a season where he was really good. He was brought in as an actual defender in the first place, so I don't understand the weird thing around, well, he wants to be a defender now. I've always classed him as a defender, but he's just not a good defender. He's all heart and he's all action, and he'll put his body on the line. But for us, we really lack a back four with good judgment, good positional sense. It's all lacking in our players, and I think it's killing us. Ben, what do you think?
No, I completely agree. Going back to what you said about when we had the good defensive records, I think it was the 15-16 and the 16-17 seasons. If you look at every one of them 4 players in that back line, like you said, they are all in the prime. Every one of them 4 players was in the prime, and they could have played for anyone on that day, But we haven't moved forward from there. If anything, we've moved backwards.
Mm.
You know, I love Toby, don't get me wrong, but he's early 30s now. And you can see that he's not the player that he was.
I think his confidence has been shattered though as well.
Yeah, it will.
I
It
really
will
do.
be though. What you know, it's gonna be. I mean,
So what's the answer then to the back four until the end of the season? What's the answer? Because I've seen a lot of people say you've got to keep the same back four no matter what mistakes we're making. Obviously, we've been dealt injuries with Reguilon because he is a brilliant player and I think we really miss him. But what's the answer to the end of the season? Back four only.
Ledley.
I change the formation and have a back three and try and get somewhere in the middle because we're just lacking nothing in the middle. So if you take that extra defender out, push him in the middle, change the formation, mix it up a bit, might be somewhat worth watching. Good change.
So which three?
Toby,
Well,
Rodon, Tanganga.
I would like to see Mourinho come out and be honest and say, right, I'm going to play the young kids this season, give them the rest of the season, see how it goes. If it don't work, I've tried, I'll hold my hands up, rather than just chucking them in and not saying anything.
Yeah, throwing them to the wolves.
So have we seen the end of Sanchez? Have we seen the end of Ben Davies? Are these players going to be leaving at the end of the season, do you think?
I hope so.
I think there's a player in Sanchez, but he's just not given the chance, and he just gets the chances at the wrong time, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think he's another one. He's another one lacking confidence, and it shows.
I'd rather have Dyer than Sanchez. You know, it's full of promise, but again, is like Lamella. How long have we been saying like the promise for Lamella?
Yeah.
You know, I just don't think he's good enough for Premier League football, especially top half Premier League football. So yeah, to me, Sanchez has to go. Ben Davies, is he a good backup? I don't know. Yeah,
I think for me, I think the really easy way to figure this out is if you say, what of any of our defenders gets into a top six side? I think that's the level that you judge our players on, and
so there you go.
I can't think of any of them, to be honest, apart from Reguilon.
Yeah, I don't say Reggie,
and that's pretty scary for me, considering we was all talking about pushing for a title and stuff, and it's such a weird season because that first half of the season, we did have a really tight defence, and it did seem as though something had clicked. However, now it's just like clown central all over again. So we'll move on to the midfield then. So obviously, if you guys thinking about a three, then that takes someone out of the midfield really. Where I think we've had problems with numbers.
Yeah.
What were we talking about midfield then?
Højbjerg, definite starter.
I'm gonna make that. Kristen.
For me, definite starter. I think sometimes he's gone too defensive. He's playing like those two defensive midfielders where we don't need it or we've not needed it. And I think that takes away that extra bit of creativity just in front. To me, it should be one of, let's say, Højbjerg. To me, it'd be the first name on the sheet. I think he's been an absolutely outstanding signing this season. He's got that mentality that we've missed. And it's whoever. Winks, I'm out on Winks. So that I honestly, I can see again. It's that horrible word. I can see promise, but no, I don't know. Sissoko again, all heart, commendable for that, but not for me. So then you go Tanguy, yeah, D player Højbjerg and Tanguy just in front, being that little link. It's a shout. Tanguy's been, again, since last season, he's pulled his socks well up. Going on what we're saying about Mourinho publicly slating him, he's come back stronger. But how long for?
Well, I think that the fact that he's now saying that he can play 90 minutes and that he was trying to get him into shape where he could play alongside Højbjerg. I think now he's at that time where he needs to step it up even further than Ndombele, because I think he's an absolute class player. Every time he gets the ball, you just think he can create something, but I just don't think he offers that stability Sissoko does yet. But the problem with putting Sissoko in is I just think he's useless. I don't think he's good for anything. I don't want to like seem as though I've got an agenda against Sissoko, but I don't actually know what he does well apart from helping Serge Aurier out when he's up the pitch, and I just don't think that adds enough to a team.
I completely agree. I don't know if anyone else picked up on it, but against Brighton and Chelsea, he was walking around the pitch.
Yeah,
there was no drive from him whatsoever, attacking or defensive. He was just walking and jogging at best to get back to position.
I noticed that. And anyone who's played midfield in the Sunday football or Saturday football knows that you just got to constantly be back and forward.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just don't see that from players, and it amazes me how players don't sprint back, especially when there's gaping holes in our midfield. And you saw against Chelsea the other night, man, there was just like acres of space that Chelsea were just, they weren't even running. There was just like walking around passing the ball. And another one of our big problems, I think, is we can't tackle as a team. We are terrible at winning that ball. And it comes from, and I called him out on the last podcast, it comes from Son. I don't think I've ever seen him win a tackle. He runs with intent and he works hard to run down. But even against Brighton, you saw them centre halves just, he really easily kind of turn and go past that, and he just runs past. I think the judgment of our tackling and Winks is the same, and I don't think Sissoko is really that great at tackling. I don't think we compress the ball like a lot of these teams pressing the ball, like Leicester and Liverpool. I think they do it so much better than us, but and it puts us under pressure.
Going back to Son saying he can't tackle. Do you think when he got red carded against Everton might have something to do with it? Knocking his confidence.
Injury to Gomez.
Maybe. I think it comes down to judgment, and I don't want to call him out too much because, as I said before, it's not really his job. It's his job to score goals and run at people, but he ain't really doing that anymore. But when I see the press, with the so-called press, I don't think we're very good at it. I think the best person who's good at it is Lucas Moura. I think that's all he's good for, which is ironic.
Apparently his price tag's gone up, hasn't it?
45 million
rupees.
So let's just go.
The other one with his confidence being shot, and Moura since the Champions League final, he's not really the same.
Yeah.
But when the manager does the dirty on you, don't pick you for the final. What do you expect? I think he's just written down his contract.
I don't know about that. I think that's long enough in the past now for him to have got over that.
Is that
another player who just doesn't bring enough to the table?
But it could be one of the players who'll go to somebody else's team and be a superstar.
Yeah.
There's certain players what just don't fit in certain teams, and when they move, they fit in perfectly. Well, that's the problem with Spurs have got at the moment. Half of their team,
And I think it goes on to what we were saying about keeping players too long and the value. You know, again, not taking the mick, Ben. You know,
no.
All joking aside, I bet Levy is looking for 30, 35 million for some of these players. He wants top dollar for them, and they're not worth it.
It's why they don't get sold.
Yeah,
he just wants too much.
It's the environment as well, though, because a lot of them players bed in at Spurs. They've got amazing facilities for training, and the ground's brilliant. And I think a lot of them obviously want to stay in London. I think it's hard to shift some of these players.
Yeah,
and I think that's another reason why we don't bring in enough players at different parts of the season. Like I don't know, it's just anyone who's not performing, your Davis, Lamella, all the people who haven't performed for years, just get them out of the club and bring in. I wouldn't even mind bringing in like championship players or just to replace them in the squad.
Yeah.
So we talked about midfield then. So let's move on to the forwards. So we've got the Bale situation. So what's going on there then, fellas?
I've always been a big believer that you don't go back. You know, I said it's something that's been stuck with me for a long time. You know, he's come back and we're all expecting Gareth Bale from 7 years ago. And he's 7 years older. You know, he hasn't got the pace that he once had. He's still got the class, don't get me wrong, but you know, personally, I love the guy, but to me, he shouldn't have come back. I think it's tarnishing his legacy. He's not going to get played.
Was there not a part of you that was excited though when it was kind of all the fever around it was starting to develop, and it was an actual, this could happen, because I was like ecstatic with that.
I was chuffed for it, and one of my biggest things, what I thought is the merchandise will sell, will raise some profits, and Levy might put his hand in his pocket. But it's a fantastic marketing opportunity. Don't get me wrong, but I'm an old cynic. What can I say? I'm excited. I was, when it does score, I still get goosebumps. But you look at the press, and we've been sent a picture this morning, I think, that we wanted to discuss about Bale, about what is worth, and is it worth it? So let me find it. So Bale, was it you that sent it, Si? Bale contract breakdown: weekly wage 650,000, Spurs wage contribution 325,000, cost per goal 1.3 million, cost per chance created 650,000, £28,000 cost per pass, and £9,000 cost per minute.
It's clearly not worked out at the moment, but is that not down to Mourinho, Simon? Is that not down to him? He's not even getting in the team.
Well, Mourinho might look at it one or two ways. He's only on loan, so he might as well use a squad member and get them confidence building up, and just let Bale fill in when he can. But you need Bale now, don't we? We need him firing all cylinders. And has he been told in the long run, we're definitely not signing him at the end of the season? Is he back to Madrid? Who knows? If Mourinho knows he's going back, why would he want to play him?
What about this rumour of Bale saying that he only wants to play on the right?
What was that, sorry?
So yeah, it says there was the rumour coming out the other day that Gareth Bale has told Mourinho that he only wants to play on the right.
I don't know. I always take these things with a pinch of salt. I mean, even if he's gone to the manager and said, look, my preference is to play on the right, I don't think that's being unreasonable to Bale. If that's where he sees his best position, I'm sure he's not kicking up a fuss saying, no, I'm not playing left. Or it seemed a bit odd when we had Doherty on the left wing back against, was it Brighton or Liverpool?
Yeah.
That was a bit of an odd decision. I'm sure Bale could have done a better job than Doherty there. There's something not right with Bale. I mean, you've seen him, and he against even teams like Wickham and Marine, and he's done all right, but he's not pulled up any trees, has he?
Yeah.
You think Mourinho don't think he's earned that right to be in the first team? He's not doing enough in training.
You could say, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? It says that we don't see what's going on behind the doors, and you can say that Bale, you can say about Delhi. I know it's supposed to be carrying injury at the minute is Delhi, but what's going on behind the scenes? What is Mourinho seeing that we're not? I think against the Chelsea game the other night, I was reading a lot of different forums on Facebook, and they all saying that was the team that they wanted to see. Now what?
Yeah, it's a difficult question, isn't it? Because you're right. Where do we go from here? That was probably our strongest available team. You looked at the bench; it didn't give me much confidence that any of them players could come do a job if they needed to be. So it leaves us in the situation now where do we go forward? How do we start picking up points again? And let's look at Mourinho, because I don't think he's exempt from this. I know I'm a bit of a I'll support him at the moment because I don't think he's got a squad that he needs, but I certainly think he's making tactical or selection errors. What do you think?
I'm going to join you on that. I've said this for a few weeks now. I'm not Jose out. I'm never manager out, but I'm losing every reason to be Jose in because he's not showing me why he should be. But then again, like we said before, you can blame the players, you can blame what he's got to work with, but he knew that before he came here, and something has happened since we played Palace and drew and played for a draw. It was evident that we played for a draw, but I've been looking at something called shot creation actions, which is basically a pass across a dribble or a run into the box that leads to a shot on goal. And pre-Palace, we was averaging 19.5 chances or shot creation actions for and conceding 18.8 against per game. But since that game, we've dropped down to only creating 15 per game and conceding 26. of these shot creation actions. So I don't know.
This game come after the Liverpool game, the first Liverpool game where we got beat 2-1. Because Jermaine Genius has come out and said that's the turning point. He thinks when it was the Liverpool game, the first
I think
one.
it did, because they went and beat them 7-0, didn't they? I think. Yeah, but again, I think it's got to do with trust as well. I think after the West Ham game that you were saying earlier, how do you go and concede those 3 goals so late in the game? I think the players don't trust each other. I don't think they trust themselves when they're defending, and I don't think Mourinho trusts any of them. But why are we still seeing the same approach to games week in, week out if that's the case? You know.
Yeah. Well, again, it comes back to the squad, though, doesn't it? I mean, what other ways? We've seen lots of different ways he's tried to play. You know, even at the start to the middle of the season, we were saying in the last podcast that he's played games and they've played differently to what they did before. Now, I think he got in a bit of a set rhythm that they'd found with his 2 holding midfielders, Sissoko and Højbjerg, soak up the pressure and get them on the break. But I just don't think you can play like that against Palace, against Wolves, against all these teams that we should be attacking, especially at home.
Yeah. Yeah, completely.
So,
well, the thing is, you know, it's easy to forget that he had us at the top of the league for a few weeks after getting results that we wouldn't usually get.
Yeah.
But for me, it's as if it's obvious we can't sustain it, but why can't we? It's got to be somewhere in the players that just mentally they can't play that way.
Well,
so
it's
we're
very
not playing
tiring to defend a full game, though, isn't it? I mean, you must
exactly.
You must look at the defenders and think, Jesus Christ, I'm under the cosh all game. I've got no support or relief from attack after attack on the other end. So you can clearly see why mistakes start coming in. But I think the thing for me is Mourinho has every right to drop these players when they're making horrendous decisions and horrendous mistakes, which are costing us games. And the problem is that's happening with a lot of players throughout the squad, especially in the defence. So that's why we're seeing the constant rotation of defenders, because they're just every time we're playing,
we're going to end up with no one to play. That's the way it's going. We're going to run out of players before we run out of ideas.
So obviously, like everyone's been saying, well, a lot of fans have been saying Mourinho. I think a lot of fans from the start, a lot of fans wasn't happy that we got Mourinho in. It felt like a different type of manager from what we should have at Tottenham. If Mourinho does go, guys, what's the next step? How do we get out of this mess? Simon, what do you think we should do?
What, manager-wise?
Manager-wise, say Mourinho gets sacked, which I don't think he will do, but where do you stand on it? Do you want him? Do you want to keep him? Do you want him out, or would you replace him with?
Well, I never wanted him in the first place, and to replace him, the way Levy works, he'll probably go for somebody like Steven Gerrard on the cheap, which I think could do a job. But would he go to Liverpool if Liverpool come calling for him if he was manager of Spurs? I think the way Gerrard's turned Rangers round, I'd compare Spurs to Rangers. I know somebody might laugh at that comment, but you've got to think where Rangers was compared to Celtic and where they are now. I'd go Stevie G.
Stevie G.
He's a midfielder. He could build the team round the midfield, which we haven't got, obviously, and start from there.
So Steven Gerrard for you, Andy, what would you do?
Again, I've been having this conversation with Ben. I was never in the Mourinho camp, and you know the way I see it, I'm a Tottenham fan. I'm not a Mourinho fan. I'll be a Spurs fan long after he's gone. I was a Spurs fan long before he was here. He's our manager. I'll support him. I'm not enjoying watching us. I'll give you that. He's not the problem. When he appointed, and I was quite vocal on it, is I'll support him, but this is Levy's last chance. You know, like we said earlier on, Levy has done everything. He's brought in the legends, he's brought in the up and coming, the proteges. Now he's got the serial winner, and none of it's worked. So I don't think it matters who comes in. I think Levy's the problem. personally. If I had to pick a manager, and again, I've gone on record, I'd love Nagelsmann from Leipzig, but I think Levy needs to take the responsibility now. I think for a long time, Levy has wanted Mourinho as manager. Now he's got him and it's not working. I think the buck stopped with Levy. If Mourinho goes, Levy has to go. And I won't give my other opinion that I said to the lads about, it's a little bit dark, but, about Mr. Lewis. So,
I think we can probably get what
we get that.
What you're gonna, what you've been trying to say anyway. So Ben, what would you do?
I'm going to pretty much echo Andy on that. I think it doesn't matter who comes into the club. Trying to get them players to do what the manager wants, and Levy ain't going to change. So we're going to be stuck in the same situation that we've been in for years with yet another manager. And then it comes to an end. The players stay, manager gets sacked, Levy don't change, we don't invest, and it starts again. I think if we was to change managers, it's going to be very hard getting a manager worthwhile getting to come to Tottenham. I've seen people saying Allegri, they want Allegri to come in, but for me, he's a manager who plays the same pragmatic football Mourinho does. So, that didn't make sense to me. But, Nagelsmann, Erik Ten Hag, Hansi Flick, any of them, but we're never going to get them. Why would they come to Tottenham?
A lot of people said Rodgers. What do you think about Brendan Rodgers?
Yeah.
I don't think he'll leave Leicester.
Would he leave Leicester to come to us? Exactly.
That's why I picked Gerrard. Gerrard are probably a more feasible option because it'll be cheap to get.
I think Gerrard's waiting for the Liverpool job. I reckon
if he gets Spurs, then Liverpool will go.
Is he not in like a Liverpool runs through him? Like a lot of people say, Mourinho didn't feel like a right fit. I don't think Gerrard would. Can you imagine Gerrard, going up against Liverpool? I'd rather give Ledley a shot at it than Gerrard, to be honest. I'll just give you my thoughts on it. And I was really excited when we got Mourinho, because what I thought it is I've never really liked him. He was at Porto and stuff like that. I didn't mind him because it felt like a breath of fresh air. So I've never really been a fan. But what I was excited about is he's won trophies everywhere he's been. So I thought, right, that gives us a really good opportunity to start seeing us pick up some silverware. So I'm happy Mourinho's in, and I think he elevates the club in terms of the name and the stature of that manager. He's one of the most successful managers in history, and he's at our club. And I think that for me was really positive. I think he's making some bad decisions, and I think he's stubborn, but I still think he can do a job at Spurs and get us to be more successful than we've been since the 80s. And for me, I'd keep hold of him. The problem is, it's all about money. Tottenham cut the cloth accordingly. And that's why we don't spend tons and tons of money like Man City and Liverpool on transfers, because we can't afford to. We might have Joe Lewis, who is a multi-billionaire, but it's been clear since the day he took over with Enoch, that is not his model. And I think if you look at the stats of teams that pay the wages as a league table, we're about where we should be, because we're about 6th or 7th highest payers in the league. I just don't think that's any coincidence that you kind of get what you pay for. And I think that, and I think as fans, it's really crap, because we've been starved of seeing us lift trophies for so long. But I kind of think we're in a position that we deserve to be in any way.
Yeah, I agree. Coming back to a point you made about not being able to buy big, we can't, we never have. But we don't even seem to be buying smart, if that makes sense. He couldn't get Fernandes because he went to United. So we got another Fernandes on loan. But he had a 50 million buyout or something stupid like that. Why was we ever going to pay that for that player?
Well, it's the same with Vinicius now. I mean, he's about the same price, isn't he? About 50 million to buy him.
35, 40 million, I think he is. But again, it's not buying smart. It's not being, a smart club that we need to be, because we can't just go out and throw money around.
It's a shame, though, some of the players that we missed out on, like Fernandes, who's linked so long with Fernandes, Grealish we could have had for an extra couple of million. It does make you. But then for every Grealish we've missed out on, we got an Eriksen for 12 million. So
exactly.
I would say we have bought smart in the past.
Every now and again, there's a gem, isn't there?
Yeah, it's just too, far and few between for me. For what we are and where we need to be, it's just not. I don't feel like we're doing enough, and I think that brings Steve Itchen into the firing line.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, there's I think I mentioned to you, Ben, the other day. I'd get the guy in from who was at Lille because he had a great record.
Was that Luis Campos?
Yeah, Campos. Yeah, I think he's director there anymore. I think he was the sporting director, but he gets on well with Mourinho. I think the same agents maybe. He's obviously.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He's had Dingy and the coaching staff. His name, I forgot his bloody name now. Our assistant manager.
Oh, Sacramento,
yeah. So I think it'd be good. So right, let's move on then, because I think we've talked enough about our players and stuff. We've got West Brom tomorrow. What do you think we're going to do tomorrow then, guys? Because we really need to start picking up points again, don't we? What do you think the scores are going to be tomorrow?
I couldn't tell you. I can't at this point. I can't even predict it. I was saying this to Kirst the other night. I haven't had a Spurs headache for years, since Sherwood, and I've had a Spurs headache for about 4 weeks now. And it's getting to the point where I'm just like, well, I don't know what we're going to do, because I know for a fact we're going to see Dyer on the team sheet, and we know exactly what we're going to get with him, and 95% of our other players. So I've hit a point.
They're hard to watch at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah,
really, it's a real struggle watching that team at the moment. Andy, what do you think the score's going to be?
I think West Bromwich Albion, Dr. Tottenham will see you now. I think they'll get a point. I think 1-1. I just don't see where our ideas are going to come from. So I'd love to say, obviously, the bottom of the table, but we just lack confidence, and I think they'll come at us, and I think we'll scrape a 1-1.
How very depressing. Simon, what are your score predictions?
Well, the way it's going at the moment, I think West Brom will be happy to play us. They'll be probably loving it more than what Spurs will be playing West Brom. Going on formation-wise, I can't see it changing again. West Brom will probably put more attackers against our defence. And if West Brom get the early goal first, I think they'll win 3-1.
Oof.
I can't even see Spurs scoring. I'll just give them a 1, just a bit of luck.
It really does feel like the days of Jerry Francis.
Yeah.
It's
If you're a
depressing
manager playing Spurs tomorrow, you just know what you have to do. Just play a lot of forwards and attacking midfielders.
Yeah.
Combat the defence.
I think one of the things that I've noticed is it doesn't feel like we work hard enough in any game. It feels like the other team, we've made every team we've played, apart from Man United and Southampton in that second half, every team we've played have looked miles better than us. And I think it stems from we don't work hard enough like we did under Pochettino.
I put a post up the other night about something similar. Says kick off, they get an early goal, we pass it around the back, lose the ball, hoof it forward. Half time comes, we come out, kick off, press for a second, they come back, get a second goal, and then we start trying on about 82 minutes. All of a sudden they seem to look at that clock and think, I've only got 5 minutes left. And the last 5-10 minutes they seem to up the game, but game's gone by then. And it seems to be a common theme that's been running recently.
Yeah, I didn't like the narrative that came out after the Chelsea game, as if we really went for it that second half, because I don't think we did.
Yeah,
we had one header on shot.
One message.
Yeah.
After seeing what you'd put, Andy, about leaving it till 80+ minute, it was like clockwork. So Chelsea, 82nd minute was the first cross we got into that box.
Yeah.
Why are we so bloody hesitant to play first-time balls and get crosses in the box? It drives me up the wall. We're so slow in our build-up, and we're so hesitant and indecisive of what to do. Bloody Sissoko, every time Aurier gets the ball, just whip it in the box. You don't have to stand there and look at your options. Just get it in the bloody box. And it infuriates me the how slow we play sometimes. It really does.
I would say, what instructions are they getting from the bench or in training?
Another thing, forget the score. What formation would you play tomorrow? Considering you're playing West Brom.
10-9.
4-4-2 for 4-4-2. 4. I don't know. I always think Højbjerg shouldn't have a partner in the middle. He should sit in front of the back four, and then the midfield should be in front of him. I think Højbjerg has been brilliant, but I tell you what, there's some things that annoy me about him. I think he comes too deep. He more or less sits in that back four just to get the ball, and I think it then creates too much of a space.
We've
in the
got
middle.
a void in midfield, then, haven't we?
Yeah.
It happened against Chelsea. We had Højbjerg basically at the defence. The four forwards were pushing and pressing the ball, but then we had like Tanguy in the midfield, and there was about 20, 25 yards between the strikers, Tanguy, and then the defence, and that's where they was just overrunning us into the gaps.
Does that come back to the fact that the defence is naff and Højbjerg maybe don't trust them?
Yeah,
because
probably does.
The amount of times Dyer gives away possession is criminal, and I can't believe he's not called out on it more. He every time he passes the ball, it goes to no one.
Yeah, but that's it, though, isn't it? How many times have we seen Højbjerg in our penalty box winning the ball when it should be a centre back or one of your wing backs doing it?
Yeah, true. So right, I'm gonna say 1-1. I think that's a good shout, that Andy. I think it's a depressing away point. Oh, it's at home, isn't it? A depressing 1-1 draw, I think, is what I'm going to go for. Right, we're going to move on now. We've got some group latest news. Andy, do you want to go through that?
Yeah. Well, first off, happy birthday for this week, guys. You know, Matt, I won't mention the number.
That was 29. I was this week.
Yeah. So yeah, congratulations. Happy birthday to you guys. We've had, as our official supporters club, we've had our first 2 mascots for the Chelsea game. So congratulations to Clara and Jude. You did us proud. Shame the team couldn't do the same for you. Hopefully in the future, with the working relationship we're going to have with the club, we'll have more opportunities for other families. And hopefully in a couple of years, Ben, Little Faith can get there as well. And we might actually get to a game then. So,
yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. So yeah, it was all positive on that side. So yeah.
I'd just like to add in there that we all send a big congratulations to yourself, Andy and Anna.
Thank you very much.
On your engagement. Hey, am I going to do it or what?
Yeah.
Have a Spurs themed wedding.
Well, our first thought actually was hiring out the White Hart, so yeah, quite probably.
Oh, fantastic!
I know it'll be all right.
Brilliant.
White dress with a Spurs badge on. As long as you don't have AIA on the sponsor on the dress.
Yeah, but do I go for the off-the-shoulder number? Yeah, thanks, guys. So yeah, so lots of positive things coming up for the members. So again, we're waiting for lockdown to end and get back in pub. We mentioned today, I think we're looking at April. You never know, we might be in for the cup final, but let's cross that bridge.
And
we might not want to be by then.
Yeah. Or we might have a new manager in place who does Ramos and wins a trophy.
You never know.
After not getting us to the final. So predictions league then. Have you got that, Andy, or?
I shall just dig it up. So yeah, I think nobody predicted the correct score for the Chelsea game. I think it went to 1-0, and we had a couple of 1-0s for Spurs, and I went 3-0 Chelsea. I hate betting against my club, but it's what I expected. So no change as far as I know.
It's so hard. The prediction league I think I've got 2 points. It's rock hard predicting the Spurs score.
It is. So I think at the minute there's still 2 people joint top, so on 6 points. And I don't want to brag, but congratulations and me.
That Back to the Future style almanac served you well, mate.
Oh, it does, absolutely.
Right, okay. So moving on, then we obviously do this podcast and ask you guys to send us in questions and our thoughts. I'm assuming we've got some from social media. Ben, do you want to go first? Have you got some?
Yeah, I've got some from Twitter, and we've got one from Rob Holt again. The next transfer window is massive, where do we all think we need to strengthen?
I think there's one obvious one, isn't
Oh, I
there?
love the pitch, isn't it?
Yeah, everyone.
Everywhere.
So let's set some boundaries then. So we've got what we're saying. We've got 50 million, 60. Well, I don't know. I think transfers are going to be difficult now. I don't think you're going to see big numbers. I think you're going to see a lot of free transfers. So should we say 3 transfers and you've got 100 million? Who are we going to get in for that?
I'd go for 2 strikers because Kane always gets injured, and we haven't got a backup striker for the backup striker. Then we can, at least we can change our
Like
formation.
inception of strikers.
Well, Spurs have been lacking strikers for years. You can never change the formation to 2 out-and-out strikers up front.
So what you're saying, Ings, Danny Ings, would you get him?
I'd get Danny Ings,
We
yeah.
should have got him.
I'll get Danny Ings and I'll get an up-and-coming striker just to fill in.
Feels like we need pace again, doesn't it? It feels like we need someone. It's just
Like
what's
a
happened
Dubois.
what's happened to Son running at people? What's happened to Son getting to the byline? And
I saw it against Chelsea again. He had so much space down the wing, and Azpilicueta was not catching him. If he'd have kept running, Azpilicueta would have stopped. It got to that point, and he cut back in and passed it to, I think it was Højbjerg on the halfway line. And I just thought, what are you doing?
yeah,
If it had just kept going.
Who was that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that
No.
was Son.
That's on.
No, it was Son.
Yeah.
And I just thought, keep going. You must know that you can do it. But his confidence just looked gone.
yeah.
And
So
I think that's what it comes down to.
You'd get in Danny Ings and another striker like Defoe, and where else would you go?
For me,
Playmaker in midfield.
I'd go centre back, playmaker, striker, and I think we need a new spine through that team. And as much as I love Harry and Son, we're relying on them way too much. And like we say, when it's Super Bowl season, so Harry's injured. It's funny enough to say Super Bowl tomorrow night is due back next weekend, so fits in well. I can honestly see them going, and I hate to say it. I think that I love them to death, and I don't want them to. But the way the club is going, I think if a big bid comes in for either of them two, I think Mr. Levy's eyes will light up.
Yeah,
That team.
I completely agree with that. I don't think we can afford to refuse big offers for players now. The state that we're in, we don't have money to spend. That's evident. And I think we are going to have to sell.
I don't think no one does, though. I mean, who can come in and buy Kane and Son for them prices that would command?
There's probably 3 or 4 teams in the world, isn't there? And that's about it.
Man City.
Man City, yeah.
They can afford him, and they need a new centre forward. And I think Man City will come in for a big bid.
He has got injury problems, though. I mean, how many times in every season he's getting ankle injuries and stuff?
Yeah.
I think the other side of that, it did sign a new contract as we moved into the new season. Perhaps it was signed into his contract that he had February off. I don't know.
Maybe so. So that's the transfer. So Ben, who would you bring in? Would you?
I think we've got to upgrade on our defence. We still need to upgrade on the midfield. And again, I think to get anyone worth signing, we are going to have to sell some key assets because we've got that many players we need to move on. We're going to have the equal amount that we're going to have to bring in. So I just think we're stuck in this kind of rut. Yeah, we're just stuck in this sort of limbo now. And again, I'm like a broken record on it, but it's the problem. We haven't been actively replacing and getting rid of players who aren't good enough over the past 7 or 8 years. And now they're all stuck at the club and we can't get rid.
Yeah.
And the ones we can get rid of, we can't afford to. But I think that's where we're at, and I think it's going to be a real problem for us, and it is going to be that painful big rebuild that has been sort of the elephant in the room for a few seasons now.
I think it's difficult because a lot of clubs are going to be in the same situation. So it might turn out that a lot of players become available on free transfers, and that's the way the market goes from then on. I hope so, because you don't want to be left behind in transfer market when all the.
No.
I mean, look at Chelsea. I mean, how ridiculous! Just go spend 230 million or whatever it was on them players, and what have they got in return? I think clubs are now starting to get savvy and saying, why are we paying these players 80 million when they're coming? They can't even play in the Premier League. So hopefully it'll just have a bit of a sea change where things just dial down a little bit in terms of transfer fees, and then it might mean that we can compete a bit better. Anything else to add on that one before we move on to the next question?
No, I think we're kicking ourselves that we didn't get Watkins either.
Oh,
Yeah, it would have been a good signing. For me, though, right back, centre half, and a midfielder. That's where I'd go.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much spot on.
We should have got Max Aarons last summer from because I think Man United are going to go for him this summer. But again, it's what could have been. So
I don't know. I think we'd have a decent chance of still signing him because I don't think he's getting ahead of Wan-Bissaka if United are going to get him. He might want to come to Spurs, and I don't think he'd cost a lot as well being in the Championship. Anyway,
yeah,
he might not come. Right, next question then, Ben.
Let's have a look. So we got one off our guest actually, and she said, "Why is Jose so reluctant to start Vinny?"
Don't trust him.
I completely agree.
Probably because if he gets injured, we're screwed.
Yeah,
he's like a squirrel, just digging his nuts away so he can come back to him if he needs to.
That's why I said the backup striker for the backup striker in the transfers.
Yeah, I just don't think he trusts him. I think that's top and bottom of it.
You've got to play him. He's on loan. If he gets injured, he's only a loan player. He's not one of your squad players.
What do we think of him though? From what
I
we've
like
seen?
him, to be fair. I think he's shown, albeit lower league clubs, but he's shown that he can put his chances away if he gets them. And
sorry, Ben. It goes back to exactly what he was saying. It says we're not putting the crosses in the box for him. We're not playing to his strengths. And to me, as a centre forward, you play to their strengths. Is a tall lad. Get those crosses in, and we discussed it. We're taking that extra touch. He's running into the position. We're taking that extra touch. He's then run offside, so the ball can't go to him. So then they pass it back. Play to his strengths.
Definitely. Well, like you say, we got that crossing the other night, and he had a chance. 9 times out of 10, he might score it. But
first one, second half, wasn't it, that one?
Yeah.
So
the other question is, do we sign him for next season? Is he worth signing? Because you don't know, because he's not playing. So how can you judge if he's going to fit in?
I don't think they're going to sign him. I think for the money they're talking, they could probably get Ings for that price.
I think Ings out of contract, or is it next summer? But I know
Southampton are struggling as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
For money.
They're talking 10-12 million for Danny Ings.
Is that all?
Yeah.
God, I'd snap their hands off for that.
I'm sure that his contract's up in summer because I was willing them to go for him in January. He wants to play Champions League football, or European football. Well,
we are getting Champions League football this season.
Well, we're going to win the Europa League, so we're going to qualify for the Champions League.
Actually, you are right. We have got a good chance, I think, with the Europa, yeah.
I'm certainly not for league position, but I think Danny Ings should be a shoo-in, and I think if they can get Danny Ings, then Carlos is gone.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you, and good luck with your future endeavours, as they say. But yeah, I don't think you trust him, and if you're going to play him, play to his strengths. Simple.
Yeah.
When you look at the transfer deal, it was a no-brainer for us because we got him on a try and buy. If it doesn't work out, it's cost us nothing but probably his wages. So you're right though. You've got to play him. To judge anyone, you've got to play him, and that's the problem with Bale. He's not getting enough game time to judge what he can do anymore, and I think it's a vicious circle, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely. Right. Next question then, Ben. If you've got any more on your side.
Yep, there was one more from Mark Stone, and I think we've probably already covered it. But what has gone so wrong?
We'll do that in the next podcast because, as I say, there's tons of things. I think no one's coming out of it with any credit. at the moment. Maybe a couple of individual players, but I think they're all flapping around and trying to get to the heart of the problem. And I don't think it's as easy as what people think it is.
No.
I don't think sacking the manager's the answer. So I don't know what you guys think on that.
I completely agree with that. I'm just going to echo what you've said. There's no easy answer to it. There's no obvious answer to it. So
there was the questions from Twitter.
They're the Twitter ones. Yeah.
Andy, have you got some from?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I've got a few actually. I'll come on to the happier one at the end, or slightly happier one.
Yeah, let's leave it on a happy note.
But a couple from Instagram. So from Joey OD, who says that's actually my lad. I think again we've probably answered it, but it's worded well. With the way we're currently playing and the way Jose sets us out in mind, do you honestly believe that this current set of players are capable of winning with or without Jose behind the wheel?
Well, without Jose, we've shown that we can't, because we didn't get over the line with Pochettino as close as he got, and as amazing of a job he did, we never won anything. Jose, who knows? We'll only know at the end of the season, won't we? I think.
Well, we've got to a final, haven't we? We're one game away from silverware, so come back to that at the end of April.
Yeah, I think he's had. I think after the season, he will have had long enough where we know where we're going as a club. I think.
Yeah.
That's if he gets that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
If we lose tomorrow, that's the first time. Well, I don't even know. I know it was 2012 was the last time we'd lost 3 in a row. If we don't win tomorrow, or we lose tomorrow, I can't remember the last time we lost 4.
There's people saying if he gets sacked, you've got to pay £15 million lease clause or whatever, contract clause.
Yeah.
I'd pay it, because the further down the league you drop, you're going to get less Premier League money. The higher you get your manager in, the higher you go, you get more money. So that 15 million will come straight back.
$1.5 million per place, isn't it? I think it goes, the increments of like $1.5 million.
I've kind of resigned myself on the season though for the league. I'm just keeping telling myself that, and I'm disappointed with the results. But actually, if we win a trophy, if we win the League Cup, I'll be happy. If we win the Europa League and get into Champions League, I'll be delighted. And I'm just telling myself that's what we're going for. It might be a case of we might be really, and that's why maybe people like Toby couldn't get in the side, and he was maybe saving his legs or whatever for further down the league, the season. Sorry, I don't think we're doing anything in the league this season. I really don't.
I think the fact every team started off poorly and we had a reasonably good start, I think we'd got it in our heads that we had a chance. We had, like I say, results that we don't usually get against City, that 2-0 against Arsenal, the 6-1 against United. And then, looking back at the 5-2 against Southampton, they've lost 9-0 twice.
It's a mad old season, isn't it?
So, I think that's sort of just sugarcoated the start of the season we had a bit and made it look that much more better in our eyes when we was actually there.
Well, Andy said it at the top of the show, didn't he? It's the hope that kills you. And every time we get in a situation where we're either being talked about as we can do it, we just melt.
Yeah.
We did it with Harry Redknapp when he was, talk about him winning the league and he got Nelson and Zaha, and we could have got Tevez and I think Gary Cahill at the time.
Yep.
We didn't push ourselves. We could have done it with Pochettino when, I don't know. I never thought that we was actually title contenders. I think we was the second best team when Leicester won it. I don't think anyone did themselves any justice that year. Yeah. Champions League, we just always melt when it matters. We melt, and we've done it this season when we've been top for a month. And look at us now.
The phrase that I often use is, "I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I've gone beyond madness." And as you say, it's the hope that destroys you. So I just smile. So I'm not mad anymore. I'm just disappointed.
There's only so many things you can break in your house as well, isn't there? So there's, I don't want to get a divorce. So I have got to kind of pull it back a bit. So any other questions then?
Yep, got a couple from Play Pro. Yeah, Play Pro Limited. That's our Scott. How is Eric Lamela still so one-footed? I don't think I've ever seen a top-level player so dependent on one foot. It must restrict how good he can be, as defenders know what he does all the time. Surely they should work on it in training, but it doesn't seem like it. So I always used to say about Aaron Lennon, I used to call him a crab, because sometimes he got a massive burst of pace, shoot down the wing, and then seem to stop dead and then go sideways.
Yeah.
And Lamella's the same, so you know exactly what he's going to do.
He's such an odd one, Lamella, isn't he? He's such a weird. I mean, look at him against Chelsea the other night. He came on. He was probably our best player, although he didn't do a lot. But he's had 8 years nearly now.
Yeah.
And we're asking the same questions year after year. I think it's time for him to go, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think that highlights the full thing, though, doesn't it? Eric Lamella's come on, and he's our best player.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a perfect way to sum it up, isn't it?
I don't know. I can't believe Scott called him a top-level player.
It links back to what we were saying earlier about these players who just have stuck around for too long, and it's costing us.
Yeah, it's just
he must be up there now as one of our longest-serving players.
Well, once Rose goes, I think he will be, won't he?
Yeah. So
must be
pretty depressing, really, because again, he's offered glimpses of being a decent player. I like how he's a bit of a shithouse. I like that element to him, and I like how he puts in his all, but not good enough, I don't think.
I remember I was watching a game a couple of years ago. It was the North London derby, and I think he came on in about 78th minute, and one of the cooks in the local pub, he was an Arsenal fan, and he was stood watching it with us. And Lamella came on and said, right, 2 things we guaranteed. He says, one of them is going to have a shot and it's going to go over the bar, and it'll be booked within the first 5 minutes. And sure enough, within 5 minutes, both had happened. And he says, is that what you all expect from me? I went, yep.
Don't you think he runs really weird? He's like he's real scatty, you know. He's kind of like too fast for his own self. He's like,
yeah, his legs move faster than his brain.
Yeah,
headless chicken.
Yeah, completely.
Right, that's Eric Lamella out then.
Yeah. So this one came through. It came through on private message because it said, not sure if this is a place for the podcast. I think it's a perfect place, and I'd love to get everybody else's view. Do you think we have lost momentum since moving into the new ground? That's from Ben, another Ben.
What do you think, Simon?
Well, you could judge Arsenal with that one. First season at their new stadium. It was rubbish, weren't they?
West
Still
Ham.
are, so.
There is a trend, isn't there?
Yeah, 50-50 with that one, isn't it?
Our form's not great at that stadium. In terms of I don't know what it is, but I don't think the win ratio is as good as what it was in the last few years at White Hart Lane, for sure.
I think one of the biggest issues at the minute, and the reason I think you could probably put a lot to it, is the empty stadium. I think if that stadium was full, that team would know what we're thinking and feeling. Yeah. And I don't think Mourinho. I think Mourinho's getting away with a lot, and Levy. I think they're getting away with an awful lot. The fact it is an empty stadium, and they're reading, social media, or probably not reading social media and ignoring it and thinking everything's rosy. So I don't actually think it's the stadium that's the problem. I think the empty stadium is giving them an escape clause.
Yeah.
Yep,
I get that.
Absolutely.
I'd sat and I'd jotted that down the other night. I thought, if I'm sat here watching this and I'm feeling like I'm feeling, I'm sick of the players, I'm sick of Levy, I'm sick of Mourinho, I'm sick of just everything. If there's 60,000 people sat there, I'm definitely not the only one feeling like this, So you fill that stadium up full of people who feel the same. That's got to change something, surely.
I remember something from years ago. I can't remember what World Cup it was, but it was against Romania. And I remember reading something on Facebook or in newspaper, and I'm sure you'll all remember it. Phil Neville gives a penalty away. And it said England was rocked by an earthquake at Thursday night at 7:35. It says when 65 million people simultaneously shouted, This is, and I think it's the same. So I think if there's 59,000 people screaming at that club, they'd know how we feel, and I think the performances would be different.
Yeah,
So I don't think the lockdowns helped us whatsoever, and I think this affects them the ratio.
Agreed.
Yeah, fully agreed.
Is that it for the questions then?
No, there's last one that we just started talking about. Obviously, we're wearing our branded clothing, Sinai. And it got talking. I wore this shirt the other night, and I must admit, I threw it in my wash basket because I was disappointed. And it brought up a question: do we have a Lucky Spurs shirt, or I've expanded socks, undies, the things that you put on, game day?
No.
I thought I did.
We haven't won anything.
Yeah.
I do wear a football shirt when I'm watching Spurs. I don't know why, but I haven't got a lucky one. It's like every time I'm right, the same as you. Sorry, Andy. When they lose, you just take it off and chuck it away.
Yeah, I wear something Spurs, whether it's a shirt, T-shirt, or whatever, hoodie. I've always got something Spurs on match day, but nothing, like you say. It says we haven't won anything. Any of the ones for you. Probably have to get your shirt out from. Go back in the recycling bin.
If I did, none of it would fit now anyway because it's been so long.
Yeah. The only other thing that I really wanted to mention with regards to members' questions and everything is something that we're probably looking at for future podcasts is inviting one of our members on to join in with our chat. Obviously, past couple of ones we've had all the whole Spurs committee and Matt hosting it. So yeah, something that we're looking at doing for future podcasts is inviting our guests on to join in with our conversations. So we'll open that up in the various social media outlets and get suggestions.
Yeah, anyone's welcome. Anyone who wants to do it, just I guess hit the group up on Facebook. That's right, Andy. Just let you all know that you want to do it. So yeah, the more the merrier. So we'll wrap it up there then. So just final predictions again. I've gone 1-1. I think Andy, you went 1-1 for tomorrow's game.
1-1.
Simon,
3-1 West Brom.
3-1 West Brom, and Ben.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a draw. I think we'll go 1-0 up and we'll just throw it away.
Well, anything other than that, I win. We'll all be happy then.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for coming on, then, fellas. This has been episode 2. You'll hear from us again in a couple of weeks, I guess. So come on, you Spurs.
Yep.
Come on, you Spurs.
Can't smile without you, so better win tomorrow.
The Glory Game, brought to you by Hull Spurs, an official Tottenham supporters group.